My name is Gatwal Gatkuoth. I come from South Sudan, the world's youngest nation. Your Excellency, Mr. António Guterres, Secretary General of the United Nations, Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Security Council, distinguished representative of member states, dear colleagues and fellow young people. I would like to start by expressing my sincere appreciation to the Presidency of the Security Council for inviting me. My father was born during the First Sudanese Civil War in a small village in southern Sudan. My father cannot write and read. He spent most of his useful life doing two things: hiding for safety and herding his cattle in relative his time. The Second Sudanese Civil War forced me out of my parent care as early as 11 in 2002. 8 years later, in 2010, I returned to South Sudan to be reunited with my parents. Even though the experience for me was so traumatic, I could not possibly imagine the pain it has caused them. I was lucky to end up in a refugee camp in Uganda, where I found education that changed my life positively. Excellencies, for me, peace building has become a necessity. I want to break the cycle of conflict experienced by my father and myself, and contribute to a peaceful future where my own children don't have to experience violence. To serve the purpose, I founded the Young Adult Empowerment Initiative in 2015 to strengthen the operational capability of young men and women in South Sudan, to create a peaceful society and drive social development in their local communities. From the first through the second Sudanese Civil War to South Sudan post-independent political unrest, young people have always been at the heart of peace and security, as recognized by UN Security Council Resolution 2250 on youth, peace and security. Distinguished member states, young people in South Sudan shaped the peace process through their participation in the High-Level Revitalization Forum, an aligned building with women group, which resulted in the inclusion of young refugees in the negotiation and increased youth participation in broader governance structures. Youth outside the negotiation room were also key in monitoring the peace talk and putting pressure on the conflict party. For example, through a social media campaign called South Sudan is Watching, which was launched by South Sudan Civil Society Forum. In Uganda refugee settlement, refugee-led initiative, including my own organization, are unlearning violence and negative stereotypes through peace building. We are identifying our concerns and aspirations jointly as South Sudanese youth, not as members of 64 different tribes. Recent development include the creation of a coalition of youth-led civil society organization in Juba, the appointment of the first national minister in charge of youth affairs in the unity government, bringing young people concerned an inch closer to the decision-making circle. Despite this significant achievement, young people continue to face structural barriers to political, social, and economic processes, as mentioned by the Secretary General in his report. I will now highlight three challenges felt by my peers in South Sudan. 1. Even with relative peace today in South Sudan, interclan revenge killing, cattle raiding, and child abduction remain our key peace and security issues, with violence intensifying due to small harm and light weapons being readily available. We need to silence the gun as called for by the African Union. In a patriarchal society like South Sudan, young women face exclusion from peace efforts and political participation because of their age and gender. We must build on 20 years of women peace and security agenda to overcome exclusionary processes and transform harmful masculinities. Third, already restricted civic spaces for youth participation are even more shrinking with the COVID-19 pandemic, coupled with lack of access to technology for young peace builders. What must be done to make the youth democratic dividends a peace dividend for South Sudan? Mr. President, here are 4 ways in which the international community can support young people's contribution to peace and security in South Sudan and beyond. 1. The UN Security Council and stakeholders should support the South Sudan unity government to enable meaningful youth participation in decision-making, including political processes and democratic practice. 2. Member states international organizations and human rights actors must respect, protect, and uphold young people's universal right of freedom of organization, peaceful assembly, expression, and participation in public affairs and civic space, ensuring that young peacebuilders do not face reprisal for their work. Third, international organizations should partner with youth-led organizations to design, implement a responsive disengagement, disarmament, and reintegration program, and establish youth-led ceasefire monitoring network in consultation with young combatants as appropriate. Lastly, member states of the African Union need to strengthen their support to young people efforts to silence the gun, transform conflicts, and build peace across the African continent. South Sudanese youth are not asking for more policy document and resolution. We are asking for proactive involvement of youth in all decision-making levels. We are asking for full operationalizations of Resolution 2250 and 2419 on youth, peace, and security. Thank you, Excellency, for your diligent attention.